This session of Databasics is to show you how a supervisor is going to approve expense reports. When logging into Databasics, if there's anything that's waiting for your approval, here in your expense approval queue, you will see reports. I like this particular way of reviewing the reports because it's the edit mode, and if, as a supervisor, I want to change anything, I can do that in this view. So I'm going to open up this expense report, and the first item I see, employee recognition for $179. If I look over here on the right, you're going to see the information just as you typically would when you're entering your expenses. You'll see the date, you'll see the amount, and then you'll see the distribution code for that item. If I click on the paperclip, the receipt, I will see the receipt for this item. And you can enlarge that so that you can see it well. In this particular one, I want to show you how I am going to reject a particular item. So going back to the view here, down at the bottom here, this is so that I can approve and reject any individual line item. So if there's a line item that I want to reject for whatever reason, I would click on the red X, and I actually have to put a reason why I am rejecting this item. So there's a couple of canned explanations that we have that you could select on, or you could select other, and then you could type your own reason. That note will go back to the person who did the expense report, so they will see the reason why you have rejected it. And you'll see this little red X here. I'm going to go to the next expense line, which is food, and I see where it was charged. I see the date and the amount. I'm going to open up the receipt. And looking at the receipt from Wegmans, I see that the amount is actually $27.47. So the amount doesn't match what the employee is asking for reimbursement. So I'm going to change the amount. And now I will go ahead and I will approve that item and save my change. The next item, mileage. When I look in here, I can see where the trip was. It was from 518 James Street to a location in East Syracuse. And I see where it's charged to, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to approve it. And then the last item, phone stipend. Again, a phone stipend does not have a receipt. So over here, you'll see that there isn't the option to view the attachment as there was for other things. All right. Now, say you wanted to change the distribution that an employee had charged. What you could do is you could open up their distribution codes, and in this particular example, this person only has one distribution code available. But if that employee was set up with multiple distributions, you could go ahead and you could select a new distribution and select that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve this line item. So now you'll see that I have approved this item, oops, I don't know if I approved this food item. That didn't look like it took, so I'm going to go back in and approve that line item. All right, so now I'm all set. And I have 3 lines approved and I have 1 rejected. I also want to point out that rather than reviewing at an individual line item, if you're okay with all of the expenses, you could actually just click this Approve All and Exit, and then that would approve the whole report and every single line item. You could also reject every line item and exit if you had an issue with all of the line items in the expense report in total. All right, now what I want to mention is that typically you can go ahead and you can advance this so that it will get paid in the next paycheck. However, whenever there is a situation where you have a rejected item, the expense report is not going to move on and get paid. And therefore, for that reason, if you have something on there that you're disagreeing with, you have two options. You could either delete that item from the person's expense report if you think it's just never going to be paid, or if you think it's a legitimate item but maybe the correct receipt isn't attached or you have other questions on it and you just want to put it on hold for now. Your other option is you come up here to the top and you move charges to the report. So you would select the item that you want to move to report, and you would create, you would create a new report, calling it whatever you want. All right, so now you'll see that on my expense report, there's actually only 3 items, and they are all approved. So I could go ahead and I can save and exit this expense report now. And it's no longer in my queue because it has been advanced. The other thing I want to point out is that if any time as a supervisor you ever want to go back and review expense reports that aren't currently in your queue, but they're historical ones that have been processed and paid. See the view here? Typically, it's always going to default to my current approval queue. But what you could do is you could go back and you could take a look at your history. I could see approved by me, or I could see rejected reports. And then that way, if you ever wanted to go in and take a look at somebody's expense report, you could go in and you could take a look at their line items, and you could even view the receipt. Another view that's available, if you weren't really doing the editing, is this view. And in this view, you can see all of the line items. It's mileage, so there is no receipt to see. And I could go ahead and I could approve these or reject these at this line item level. So that one, I think it gives it to you in a nutshell, but the only issue is that you're not able to edit in this view. And that recaps how a supervisor would approve timesheets.